Calvin Castine inside the town of Champlain facilities here on Route 9 in Champlain. I'm here on this Wednesday afternoon, or noon time actually, because of this that was in our phone company bills. It says that meetings will be held on Wednesday, March 11th at noon at Champlain Town Office to discuss NYSEG bills. These meetings are public forums to educate residents on understanding their NYSEG bill, Escos, ESCOs, and discount programs in the community in an attempt to help people better understand the numerous phone calls and mailings they receive this time of the year. So Myndi Almadovar invited us to attend. She says there will be no mention of other people that offer discounts, so it's going to be a positive look at what she's talking about. She works for the solar farm group that if you drive down Route 11 between Morris Forks and Ellenberg Depot, you see the solar farm there. And Hometown Cable has always been trying to inform people about alternate energy. It's a beautiful sunshiny day today, so a good day to make energy. When the Noble Wind Farm came up, it was built up a couple of decades ago. Hometown Cable was there. Gordy Little and I were there every step of the way. And we've been wanting to do something with the solar farms for a while, so this just might be the first step in that direction.
I'm from Solar Farms. We work up here in the area with the local community solar project, but in doing this work, I've been doing this since last May, we've come across a lot of people that have really, really high electric bills. So the point of this presentation and us trying to get this information out there, let me say first and foremost is not to either talk for or against any electricity programs. What it is designed for is to educate you on what you're looking at when you look at your NYSEG bill, because most of us, there's a lot of information on there. We look at it, we pay the bill that's due, and if it seems high, we might question it, but unless it's too high or too low, nobody really thinks anything of it and you move on. But it's the little things on your electric bill that if you pay attention to can save you a lot of money, and that's what I'm here to explain, the differences between what you're looking at. You'll have to forgive me, it's my first time using the technology here so that you can see it. So my slides are a little out of order, but for the most part, they flow pretty good. So what you're looking at, all the information up here, most of it is in the packets that we gave. So to prevent from reading through the whole packet, this is a condensed version, but you have the information to take home with you. When you look at your electric bill, your first page of your bill is going to show you your account information is all up here. It's going to have your name, your account number, the date that the bill is coming out, and then the amount due. Your account summary is all what's over here. And it's a little blurry on here. Laura, can you hand me a full packet? Thank you. So when you're looking at it, you're going to see across the top your previous invoice. So that was last month's bill. What came out on last month's bill, what was paid on last month's bill, and then it gives you your balance, your new charges, and then what's due now. If you have budget billing or payment plans, that's what comes in this little box right here. One thing to take note of, it's kind of small in your packets and it's kind of blurry here, but I'll read them across. So it has your current month, and it's got the amount there, the actual charges used, the budget balance, or the budgets applied, and then the overall budget balance. If you have budget billing is based on your last 12 months of usage. So they give you an amount every month to pay. If nothing's changed and you have a very routine and regular life, budget billing is great because you pay the same amount every month, and at the end of the year, you're pretty even. If you had kids going away to college or kids coming home from college where you had a significant change in your water heater use or your fans, or it was a hotter summer, you may use more electricity than what you did last year at this time. That's when you have to be, if you're on a budget, that's when you have to be careful and pay attention to this box. Because the numbers in this box, these boxes here, say that the budget billing, or that the actual charges are 500 and change, and the budgets applied were 300 and change. So there's a balance due here of 200 and change. What that means is if this was the end of your budget year, you would owe them an extra $200 plus your budget amount. So this would be a case where it used more electricity than what they had in the previous year. So if you're on budget billing, pay attention to the numbers in these boxes because they're important. The same goes if you're on a payment plan. If you say you came across a really hard one or you lost your job, something happened where you got behind on your bill and you end up with one of these boxes that is for a payment arrangement. It's going to tell you how much was originally owed, how much you've paid this month, and what's left. You can use that information to either pay it off sooner, or you can use it to see if your bill seems a little high this month and you forgot that you pay an extra $60 a month for payment. All that information is right there, and that's where it lets you know that. So that's what you're going to find on your first bill, or first page of your bill. We just went all through all that. On the back of your bill, you're going to see you have a message board. This is where any new information that has come across in NYSEG, if they had a change in their rates, if the Public Service Commission has made a new law, if they're upping the rates, if they're bringing the rates down, you're going to see that information in this message board. That is their message board for the customers so that you know what's going on. Down the next section below is all the contact information. If you want to get a hold of NYSEG, if you have a change in your address, a change in your payment information, all of the information to get a hold of them is on the back of that bill. And then down here, if you want to set up for auto pay, the instructions are there to do that. The next page is where you have a lot of information on here. You're going to see this same page on a couple of slides because there is a lot of information on here, and this is what nobody ever looks at. This particular bill is one that has both electric and gas. In the town of Champlain, well, in the village of Champlain, they have natural gas. So if you're a natural gas customer, you're going to have a separate portion of your bill for electricity and a separate portion for the gas. Your pod ID number, which is the ID number that they use to identify where you're at. It's, the pod ID stands for point of delivery. So that's the specific spot at where you're receiving your electricity. The only difference between gas and electric is your electric is going to be N01 and your gas is going to start with N02. So it's slightly different there. But there's a lot of information on this page. Up here, you're going to find your address. You want to always make sure that that is correct. I have come across a couple of customers, didn't pay much attention. They were receiving their bill. In one instant, the meter was put on an electric pole in between two houses. Meter here, you would assume to go with this house. Meter on this side, you would assume to go to that house. That was not the case. Somehow, the billing addresses got switched, and by not paying attention to it, customer A had been paying customer B's electric, and customer A's electric for about 10 years before they noticed. It wasn't until one of them started to go to Florida for the winter, and the bill should have dropped, but they didn't, that they found the difference. So pay attention to your personal information on there. It's going to tell you here what classification you're paying. You buy a property, it's got a house on it, you may just assume that you're paying residential electricity, which is everybody's home. Not always the case. If it says non-residential or commercial, that means that that is zoned differently through NYSEG, and your bill will be higher because non-residential and commercials have higher rates. So that's where you get that information. Over here is going to be the service date from when they read their meter, the 30 days that you were charged from there. Your pod ID, again, your point of delivery. And then, it's a little blurry here. Oh, this tells you that NYSEG is supplying your energy. This box here tells you your usage. You'll see a little initial after each one. There's either C for customer, E for estimated, or A for actual. You don't want to pay attention to that letter because if it's estimated for several months in a row, you may end up paying more or owing more in the long run because you paid less because they didn't get out and read your meter. It was estimated for several months at a time, so it might be way off of what your actual usage was. That means when they go out and do another actual read, depending on that difference, you're either going to be owed money or you're gonna pay in a chunk that you weren't expecting. So you wanna pay attention to that. Down here, these are all the charges that we all just look over them. I'll be honest, before I got into this program, I did too. So your basic service charge, that is a non-energy cost. That is what it costs to bring the energy to you. Everybody pays a basic service charge. That doesn't change. That's depending on the area you're in, it's kind of set up to stay the same there. Your delivery charge, that is the cost that it takes to get it from your energy supply, NYSEG's energy supply through the lines to your point of delivery. So this one, again, per area, depending on, this rate should be relatively the same for most people in an area. This one is this is where it's gonna be different because that's your actual usage. That's how they're charging you for that usage. There's a lot of other little charges on here that, if you want to go in depth as far as what NYSEG's charging, like with transition charges and decoupling charges, if I even pronounce that correct, those are basically fees that NYSEG collects based on their estimation of what it's going to cost to get the energy to you, and that fluctuates. If they overestimate, it'll be cheaper the next cycle. If they underestimate, it'll be more the next cycle. So this is a variable one over time. The decoupling and the reliability services charge. The SBC charge, the last charge on here, that's New York State's charge for funding clean energy programs like NYSERDA. All these NYSERDA projects are funded through the SBC charges collected by the various utility companies throughout the state. So as that pot builds on customer to customer, that is where we get the money to move forward with clean energy programs. Electric supply charge. This is different depending on what you do for electric. Electric supply that's where if you had an Esco like Ambien or Green Mountain Energy, there's literally 400 Escos in New York State. So if you have anything but NYSEG, this section will probably appear on a separate page of your bill. It will not be on this main page. This customer has NYSEG as their supplier, so that's why you see this here. This portion is going to be the same on everybody's NYSEG's bill. This one will depend on what you have for a provider. And then your taxes and surcharges it's New York State. We can't get away from those. Those are going to be on everybody's bill. The bottom portion down here is basically the same thing, but for the electric, or for your natural gas. But you have, again, another whole group of charges that come in that are, we're past all that, sorry. All right, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to tell you what gas service type that you have, what your rate is, the service period. The difference in the billing for here, you'll see in some of the categories it's a split month, because for gas they always assume it starts on the first of the month. So if your billing cycle runs from the 15th to the 15th, you're going to have month 1 and month 2 charges in there. Not quite sure why that's different. I can't get all the answers from NYSEG, but I'm trying. But that is why you have that split on when you have gas meters. And gas is charged by cubic feet, whereas electric is charged by kilowatt hour. But again, I won't bore you reading through all of that stuff. If you want to know specifics, I have done the research to supply all the specifics for you, and you'll have that in your packets to take with you. Okay, now this is where it skips to everything else. No, sorry, I told you my slides are a little messed up here because of the way it came in. Oh, one more thing. So I was trying to show different examples of the bills. So if you are in some type of solar community program or New York Sun, these are how the two bills are going to differ. This is a straight NYSEG bill, it's mine. So that's why you have the blacked out thing. But the differences of the bill is you're going to have another extra box here, whereas you don't see that under the usage here. And what that box is showing you was previous generation from the solar community project, what has been used for that month, what you have left over. It's an informational box letting you know, 1, how the farm is producing, and 2, what's being applied to your bill as a community member. The other thing that differs is underneath the SBC charge, you see a CDG credit. That stands for Community Distributed Generation. And that is how The community projects linked to NYSEG is they put a credit on your bill under both supply and delivery. And what that does is it minimizes what you're paying to NYSEG, and then they discount from whatever NYSEG was charging. So that's how those two bills would look. Now, what's the difference? When you're looking at your own energy costs, you need to know the difference between utilities, supply, discount, and funding. Utility is the company that actually has the lines running to your house. In this area, it's NYSEG. There's Niagara Mohawk is now what, RG&E. There's a couple of them in the state, and like I said, this area is predominantly NYSEG, so that is your utility. Supply is where your Escos come into play. NYSEG does supply energy, you know, they're a utility. They supply energy as well, but supply can be broken up. In 90s, they deregulated energy, so everybody could choose where they wanted their electricity to come from and what price they were paying for it. That is not a utility. Utilities do supply, but supply is not your utility. Your Esco is not your utility. Your utility is always going to be the one that's bringing the power to your house. This one is the one that you have a choice in. Discount programs are going to take money off of your bill regardless of what the rates are from the utility or the supply. And there are funding programs that support like green power projects like wind and solar, hydro. You can get into supply companies that deal mostly in green energy and pay an additional rate in order to support the growth of those projects. When it comes to Escos, Escos are electric supply companies. They just shorten it up to the term Esco. Few things that you need to know. One is that you don't have to choose. This time of year, a lot of people, especially the senior population, are getting bombarded with phone calls saying, you know, we're calling, letting you know that you got to make a choice on your electric, and we're here to give you the option, this, and that. But they make them feel like they have to choose. You do not have to choose to change your electric supplier. You have the ability to choose. You don't have to. So don't ever feel like if you get a phone call that's telling you you're going to have to choose your electric, you don't have to. NYSEG will always provide your electric. Two, energy is a competitive market. Everybody's going to try to sell you. You're going to get it in a variety of different ways. You'll get letters in the mail. You get inserts in your NYSEG bill. You'll get phone calls. Everybody promising you a better rate, long-term, you know, rate stability, fixed rates. There's a lot of different terms that they use. So just be aware, again, that it all comes back to number one. You don't have to change anything. So do your research. If somebody's calling you and it sounds something that may be good, look into it. You don't have to answer on the spot. If they're calling you, asking you to make a choice, does not mean you have to choose today. You can take their information, take their number, call, you know, do a little bit of research, call NYSEG, look it up online, ask a friend before you make any decisions. And you have rights as a customer. The Public Service Commission regulates all of the energy. They have rules and regulations for customers. They have rules and regulations for Escos. We have to all abide by our set of rules, which means that you have things in place that are going to protect you should you feel like you're being steered in the wrong direction. NYSEG and the Public Service Commission are always there to help. In your packets, there's big highlighted boxes on the bottom of a couple of pages. One of them is for NYSEG's customer service number. There is another one for Tina Fritz, who, if you run into any issues with Escos in particular, she is the customer representative at NYSEG that can help you manage your way through those. And there's information, an entire page of information in your packet on the Public Service Commission, ways to reach their contact information by phone, by writing, by website, how to get to them if you have questions or concerns, and or if you just want, you know, need a little help figuring it all out. Okay, so if you do want to make a choice and choose, there's a few things to know beforehand. There is an Esco Consumer Bill of Rights. You can type that into any Google search and it will give you the list of the rights that you have as a customer in dealing with electric supply companies. Anytime you sign into an Esco, they need to provide you with one of those. So if you get into one, say you decide you don't want to, within 3 days, no matter what their policy is, if you decide within 3 days that you want to back out of it, you're not so sure, you want to wait, you can cancel with no penalty. They cannot charge you an early termination fee within 3 days. That's their laws, that's our rules and regulation. If it guarantees savings, it has to be in writing. They can tell you whatever they want on the phone, and if you agree to it, if you didn't see it in writing, they're not necessarily bound. So you want to see it in writing. If you go through everything on the phone, it sounds great, fine, let me take your name and number, can you please send me that in an email? My advice is to not say yes over the phone. Unless they send it to you in an email and you can read it before you say yes, because if you're contacting it over the phone, once you say yes, that's the same as your signature, so you're bound. So make sure you know what you're getting into before you say yes. They can charge early termination fees. I've seen early termination fees in customers in the last couple of months anywhere from $150 to $350. That's a lot of money. That's a couple of months worth of bills. Protect yourself from that by reading the information beforehand, before you agree to it. Changes can take several billing cycles. Say you've been in it for 2 months and it's not what they promised, so you want to call and cancel. They're charging you a $300 cancellation fee to cancel, and you're like, you know what, it's not worth it, I just want to cancel anyway. Well, you're still going to be paying those bills for the next 2 months, because it's going to take 2 to 3 billing cycles for them to put you back to what you were in. So just be aware of that. Same thing goes if you're in a contract for a year. A lot of contracts will say in the fine print that if you have not contacted us, you'll be automatically renewed at the end of the year. So know what your contracts say. And there's a little cheat sheet in there, which I'll show you on the slide here after. It's just a list of questions to ask before you commit yourself to anything. They have rules about their marketing techniques that they must follow. That set of rules is also in your packet. Things like if they're standing in front of you, they have to, if they're using a yes as a confirmation to get you into it, they have to have a third party contact you to verify that yes. They cannot be in your presence while doing that. They can't have you on the phone while doing that, because that's considered an intimidation technique, and you have the right not to be intimidated. So I advise you to just check over those list of rules so that you know what you can and can't do to stand up for yourself. Because some people have no problem saying, no, I'm not interested. But other people may get confused, may not understand, and may just be trying to politely get out of the conversation. And in doing so, unknowingly sign themselves up for something they had no intention of signing up for. So know your rights, and that's one of the biggest parts in protecting yourself. Now, yeah, that's basically that there are ways to protect yourself when making these choices. All right, this list of questions, it's a little checklist. That's what's included in your thing. It's not in blue. I don't know why it came out on blue on my screen, but on yours it's just a regular checklist. Asking the right questions is going to help you make a more informed decision, and it's also going to protect you from getting slammed into things that you weren't expecting. An example is, so I myself, a couple of years ago, had signed into an Esco. The rates that it was offering were, it was fixed rates, it was a year-long contract, a little bit higher than summer rates, but definitely lower than winter rates, and I pay a lot in the winter. So I signed into it. I neglected to follow the advice that I'm giving you guys on these slides, and the contract was only fixed rates for 6 months. At my 6th month and first day, it went to variable rates. And the contract was for a year, but that meant for the next 6 months, I was in a variable rate. And I agreed to that. I signed for that because I didn't read the fine print. I didn't look at the terms. So then for the next several months, I was paying astronomical. I was paying I think it was more than twice what the electric was. I was paying like $800 a month for my electric. And when I called to cancel, I got hit with a cancellation fee, and I had to pay those high bills for the next 2 months before I went back to NICET. So I can tell you, if you don't pay attention, it can hurt financially. So some of the questions that you can ask, when you're talking to them, what is the length of the contract? Is it a fixed rate? Is it a variable rate? If they tell you it's a fixed rate, is it fixed for the length of the contract, or is it fixed for a short period of time? In what period of time can I cancel without a fee? There's just a whole list of questions just to guide you, and then you can use a comparison chart. You can ask NYSEG these same questions, and then make an informed decision before you make any changes, so that you know how to protect yourself when it comes to that. Also ask about their customer service. You want to make sure that there's a number you can pick up and call if you have questions or problems with your bill. If you call the customer service number they give you and you get a disconnected line, that's kind of something that you should be aware of. Is it something you want to go forward with if there's nobody there to talk to you to help you fix any problems? Again, there's also numbers in the packet for NYSEG, NYSEG contacts, and Public Service Commission in regards to issues with any of these questions. Green energy, what's the difference? There's two ways you can support green energy through your utilities. There are discount programs and there are funding programs. Some programs will say you can pay an extra 5 cents a kilowatt hour, or not 5, but like 0.5 cents. It's not usually a big amount, but if you go on NYSEG under their distribution, there are a variety of different ways you can support wind, solar, and hydro programs that are developing throughout the state. There's discount programs. New York Sun has a program called Solar for All that it's for income eligible residents. So anybody that receives HEAP, SNAP, anything that may put you in the financial need category, you can apply, go to New York State and request one of these applications, or we're trying to leave them at most of the town halls. Fill out one of the applications, send them in, and what it does is it discounts, kind of like the previous bill I showed you, where it puts the credits on your bill and then discounts those credits so that you're paying less for your electricity. These are free programs. They don't cost anything to be in. It's meant to make sure that everybody in New York State can have access to solar. There are also community projects. We have one located out in Moores. That's the one we're associated with. We all have different ways in which we want to contribute and which we can contribute. But knowing the difference between the two helps you financially prepare for what it is you're going to be looking at in supporting green energy. This is the website you can go to for New York Sun. The legislation is a 4-part legislation, and community solar is the last part of that legislation. And then there's information for the local community project, because I got to throw my information in there a little bit, but basically that's it. Like I said, the whole purpose of this is to make sure that everybody knows how to protect themselves on their electric bill. We are not out here targeting anybody. We're out here trying to help everybody understand that electricity doesn't have to be a horrible thing. Escos are not a horrible thing. Electric supply companies can be wonderful. There are some towns that are signed into it that save the town a phenomenal amount of money every year in having those fixed rates. It's just knowing when to get it in them, when to get out of them, and the periods of time it's going to take for those changes to protect yourself from falling into a variable rate cycle that will jump your bill up without you planning on it. That's about all I got. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Like I said, contact information is in there for NYSEG. If you have any questions in regards to your electric bill, Esco suppliers, there's about 400 of them in New York State, so there are a variety of programs that you can choose from to help you save on your bill. Just take my advice, protect yourself, ask the right questions, and good luck. Thank you for your time.
What's the advantage of signing if you signed up like with the solar and Moores?
Well, if you wanted more information on that, so the community solar farms and Moores is part of the NYSERDA projects that we've been paying for the last 20 years on that SBC charge on your bill. And it is literally one of the discount programs. It's just 5% reduction off whatever your charges are for NYSEG. It's, again, it's the same as like New York Solar for All. It's a free program, doesn't cost anything to get in, get out of. There's no, it's a month to month, so you're not, it's separate from an Esco because Escos are electric supply companies. We are not a supply company, we are a discount program.
So if you signed up and decided in 2 months you didn't want it, you don't have the termination fees?
No, there's never any fees associated with it. You're always just paying less than what NYSEG charges you.
And you get 5% off your total bill? NYSEG?
You get 5% off your credits. So that box that was on the top there that I showed you the difference between the two bills, that shows the credits that are applied to your bill every month. Kind of like budget billing, they look at your use for the last year, and they take and they figure out what you should be using each month. If you use less than what they allocate for the month, then those credits roll over. Because solar doesn't produce the same all year long, right? In the summer, it's gonna have more hours of sunshine, it's producing more. You're probably not gonna be using all of what it's producing at that time. In the winter, there's less hours of sunshine, it produces less. That's when those rollover credits cover your bill so that they can still be covering the majority of your bill to give you a 5% reduction on a bigger part of your bill than if you didn't have the rollover credits. Did I explain that right?
Okay.
Well, most of your NYSEG charges aren't gonna change. I mean, you've still got your basic service charge, your delivery charge. It's only gonna be on the actual usage, correct?
The, what, for month to month on
The
what, any
5%.
program? Oh, the
5% is for the energy you use. It's not for the delivery charge, all these
Yes.
other charges.
We cannot,
So
the
there's only one
5%,
line.
the 5% cannot cover the, I don't remember what number side it was, but the 5% can't cover non-energy charges, so the taxes, it can't offset those charges, and the, basic service charge is not an energy charge. Everything that has an @ symbol with your rate on your bill, which I think I can get back to that one. I'll have the two bills side by side. Okay, so everything that has an @ is where they can apply those credits to. They can't apply the credits to your taxes. Well, this has an @ and sorry, correction there, taxes have an @ but the taxes we can't touch and the basic service charge. But on, like I said, this is my bill, so you'll see it a little clearer in the packet. I don't know if I can make it clearer on here.
We got it in the
That's
packet.
a little clearer. Okay, so on here, my leftover balance is the 1511. I think it's right. Yes, all right. So in your packets, you can see it a little bit better. What's left for a balance due under my subtotal on the electric delivery is 1511. Because all of the other energy charges were credited back with that CDG credit. Same thing under the electric supply. It covered all of the credits that were charged to me under the electric supply. I believe I had $102 in credits that month, and that's what they take the 5% off. So everything that's credited to your bill, it's not off your total bill, it's off what the credits that are applied, and the credits are applied in each section. So if you had an Esco that was on a separate page, you wouldn't see the CDG credit on that separate page, it would show up under your miscellaneous charges. I don't have an Esco, so my bill doesn't show that, doesn't reflect that. But if your charges on your Esco were $48 and they were crediting the $48, you would see that second CDG credit come up under miscellaneous charges for the 40-some dollars that was charged by the Esco. The only Escos we cannot work with are ones that completely take over your billing. As long as they are billed with NYSEG, we can cover that cost. If it is billed outside of NYSEG, all of our projects hook into NYSEG's lines, so that's where the credits can be applied. If you have an Esco, which there's only a handful of them in New York State, I think Constellation is one of them, they have a separate bill entirely. You don't get your NYSEG bill, they take over both sets of billing. Those we do not work with.
Okay, so In that instance there, you're looking at the 57, the 57 and the 45, that's where your 102 came from?
Yes,
So you're getting 5% off that, even though it's showing a minus and a minus. You guys are gonna generate a bill that's 5% less than this that you have to pay, so you gotta pay two bills. You gotta pay
Yes.
this, a NICEAG bill, and you have to pay that 107 minus 5%, so it's roughly $5, we'll call it $100, so you'd still get billed for $95 or whatever.
yes, that's correct. And that is only until the beginning of this year, because as of, I wanna say it's been 3 weeks now, New York State has now passed a law that they are going, or legislation, that as of January 1st of next year, the discount programs are gonna be included on your NICEAG bill as well, so it will only be one bill. But from now until then, the utility companies, not just NICEAG, the utility companies throughout New York State will now have to include that on their bill moving forward, so they have that grace period from now until then to get that set up. But in the future, it will be all on one bill, but for now, it's two.
Right, so the reduction in the bill is actually gonna be $5, and, people could look at the minus 57 and the minus 45 and think they're gonna save $102.
No, yes, a good point. I should have put up my solar farms one as well. I was mainly just trying to show the differences in what you see in the bills, because like with your gas bill, you have everything on one here. I don't have an example. I tried to look for examples online of Esco bills. Finding information on your bills online is not as easy as one would think. So they show you where Esco's would be on your bill, on like sample bills, if you go on the image searches and whatnot, but I couldn't find one that would show all three. So I have, this is just straight NICEAG, that one's with a community program, and then in the previous slide, the one that I used was one that had both electric and natural gas. Trying to just sample as many types of bills so that people know, of all different bill types, know what they're looking at. Anything else for me? Well, again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Mr. Castine, for coming and taking the time. Thank you, Mr. Barcombe, for allowing us to be here, and if anybody has any more questions on your Escos, your NICEAG, again, you can contact NICEAG's customer service number. You can call Tina Fritz at NICEAG, or you can get in touch with us as well. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good afternoon.
Thank
All right, before she departs, we've got, don't move, because that camera won't know you moved. Myndi Almadovar,
Yes.
all right, and M.Y. Myndi, not a...
Blame my mother. She let my sister name me, and she was a big Mork and Mindy fan. So
What wasn't Mindy spelled with an I in Mindy, Mork and Mindy?
I have no idea.
You
It
never
was
watched
way
Mork
back-
and Mindy?
I watched it, but I think I was too young to read the title.
Okay. All right, so you now work for who?
Solar Farms in New York.
All right, and who is Solar Farms of New York? I know you have a solar farm in Mowers, there's a solar farm in Champlain, but you're not associated with that one.
No, the solar farm in Champlain is, I believe, privately owned, and that is to offset the same type of deal where it's offsetting the energy use for a company in the Adirondack Park, because they have different guidelines on what can and can't go there. So our community projects there are about 40 of them, roughly, located throughout the state. A lot more of them are downstate because you have higher populations than what we have up here. But for Clinton County, we have the one out on the Ashline Farm in Morris, corner of Route 11 and Bose Road. And that one serves about well over 1,000 homes. It's enough energy. It doesn't directly serve them. It feeds into NICEAG's lines, and it reduces what we have to buy from other places to supply our power. It doesn't mean that that's all of our power is solar, but it's feeding a lot of energy into the lines to reduce what we have to buy from other places and push in.
Well, the big push is for green energy, and solar and wind are green energy.
Yeah, and it's environmentally, it's pretty non-invasive. They don't have runoff. They don't use chemicals to keep the growth down. In a lot of projects downstate, they're trying to use sheep grazing. Up here, we haven't had as much luck with that yet, but they do plant shade-tolerant
I was
plants.
promised there'd be sheep there this summer.
Well, blame Cornell. They said they're working with, I was told they're working with Cornell on the sheep rotation When actually, Mrs. Ashline, I stopped and talked to her, and I said, well, the fence is up because the sheep are coming, and are you taking care of the sheep? And she said that as of right now, the family is maintaining it until they can figure out the rotation schedules. Because I didn't know that sheep, if the grass is too high, they won't eat it.
Yeah, goats aren't as fussy.
Goats jump and chew on wires. That would not be good in an electricity facility. So, yeah, that's what we have going on up here. I do know that they are planting pollinator species to promote the growth of bee colonies, because bees are also a problem that are in decline,
Right.
and we need them.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta pollinate. Okay, so if people have questions, or if you've got things that you want to say right now, before I ask you for the contact information.
it is, we do have a lot going on up here, energy-wise. The one thing that makes me proud to work for where I work for is the fact that in one location, yes, it is taking up a field. It's farm country, I know that, but in that one field, like I said, it's over 1,000 homes that I can generate energy for. It's not taking apart half of the North Country to put it, and it does bring up land value around the areas that have that, as we learned at the Moores meeting, and it's not a bad thing. It's something that's benefiting the communities. They're giving back. They have clean energy programs. We've raised over $16,000 for our fire departments, senior housing, youth commissions. I just got on the Mission of Hope, so I'm hoping to start raising money for the Mission of Hope as well. It's a program that's designed for the communities that it's in. There are, like I said, about 40 of them throughout the state. So it's the small communities across the state that are benefiting from these programs. We're so used to being used and abused for other people's profits. And finally, there's something coming here that is meant to benefit everybody. I mean, our fire departments, they always need help. We never get enough money. Most of them are run on volunteer, unless it's a huge one, and those budgets aren't huge. So anything we can bring back, it helps us all. So.
Okay, if people have questions, you have a contact number? Do you have an email also, or do you want the phones only?
Well, phone's easier because it's the North Country, reception is spotty, but I have a voicemail. So my phone number is 518-593-8418. You can always go on the website to solarfarmsnewyork.com. There's a phone number on there for contact. The people that work in the office, it's small offices. You're not going to get an automated line. You're going to talk to somebody, and they're going to answer your questions. Laura Garrow's also in the area.
Okay,
so.
Solar Farms, is it New York spelled out, or NY?
Nope, just NY. Solar Farms NY.
.com.
Yep.
Okay,
And, actually, their number's right here.
there you go. You look so young in that picture.
It's because I had dyed my hair. You caught me on a day when the grays are out.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay,
so
so
that's
that's how they can contact you.
yes, they can contact me.
593-8418.
Yes, and or my name, Myndi Almadovar@gmail.com. But it's kind of a hard one to spell. I mean, I can put it up again to show you, but cell phone's the easiest because that pops right up and lets me know. When I come back into an area of reception, it's just the quickest way for me to get back in
Does
touch
Solar
with people.
Farms New York have a Facebook page or anything?
They do have a Facebook page, yes, and they've got a website. They've got a Facebook page. They also run the site What's Happening in Clinton County. So when they try to keep posted to keep everybody aware of the different things going on, because they like I said, they support the communities they're in. So if there's events going on and that's going to benefit other organizations, they want to try to get the word out and help people know what's going on. As small communities, we thrive off the support from each other because I'm pretty sure above Albany they think we're Canada. So it's up to us to take care of us.
Thought we were. We're not? Okay. Okay.
So.
All right, so this has not been an advertisement for Solar Farms New York. It's just a way of Hometown Cable to help spread the word of what's available out there. Obviously, there are other entities you could contact if you're interested in this type of thing, or you can.
Well, and there's other community projects as well. We're only about 80% of the community projects in New York State. So there are 20% other ones out there. Green energy is good energy. It's all in a forward direction, and the main thing was just to help people understand how to protect themselves on their electric bill. And I thank you very much again for that opportunity to do that.
Right, we're glad to be here. So maybe someday we'll get to tour that site and more, but we'll see.
I'm working
Time
on it.
will
You've
tell.
seen this, right, Jeff?
Time will tell. Thanks, Mindy.
Thank you.